All right, this week's episode of Magnified, we're joined by Rob Reich. How we doing, Rob?
Doing well. How are you, Paolo?
I'm good. Thank you for joining. So I always
Thanks
let the
for having
guests
me.
introduce themselves. I always feel like you'll do a better job than I will. So give us a 30-second rundown of who you are, what you do, what your involvement in
Yep.
real estate is, and we'll kind of get into the conversation.
Sure. No problem. 30 seconds. Here we go. So I got into the real estate industry in 2001 as a technology vendor, kind of by accident. But I had started developing some things for real estate, initially for title, that ultimately spilled over into the rest of the real estate industry, both for agents and for lenders. So I built some unique technologies, sold that in 2021, and then re-entered the market again. Got approached by another company to represent them called Voxtur, Voxtur, and Benutech. And so here I am. I'm back in the game. It's 2024, and we got great stuff to talk about. How's that?
That was very concise. I appreciate that. So you're an innovator. You identify problems. You create solutions. What do you kind of see in terms of problems or quote unquote danger areas in real estate right now?
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll start with kind of the negative side first, and then we'll go into the positive about growing your business. So deed fraud is growing rapidly. 6,000% increase since 2011, according to the FBI. The
Wow.
bad characters can go into any county and record a quitclaim deed on your property, and the county is under no obligation to vet who you are as the person coming in to record or the document. As long as the document is properly formatted, it gets recorded. And so there are very unfortunate scenarios where people are finding out that somebody took out a second loan on their property or sold it out from underneath them using the quitclaim deed. And I don't see that slowing down. In fact, I see it continuing on the upward track that it's on. Gosh, hopefully not at 6,000%, but it is on an upward track, and people need to be aware of this. There are too many stories of people just throwing the keys back to the lender, saying, "There's nothing I can do." They've sold the property or they've taken out another loan that I can't afford, and they give up their homes. They don't just lose them; they give them up. And so that's one of the tracks I'm on to prevent deed and title fraud that's hitting the market today. We actually have some technologies for that will block that.
That was going to be my next question. How do we prevent this from continuing and getting worse?
Well, so there are some services that are out there that the realtor might want to look at that reports on the status of the ownership of the property probably every 30 days. My only concern about that is if it's 28 days after a fraudulent deed has been recorded, it's probably going to be too late. Something
Yeah.
nefarious is already taking place. So our technology called Equity Protect is the only one, and it's patent pending, that locks down title and keeps that from happening. So just like you can lock down your credit and only open it up when you want to, and that's important. You can do that with Equity Protect. You can lock down through our patent pending process the ownership of your home. It's very inexpensive, and for $20 a month, you could have all this protection, and we have insurance standing behind it. So I won't go into too much detail there. It is absolutely groundbreaking technology, and at the end, if we can give my contact information, Paolo, then they're welcome to reach out to me.
Yeah. And what is it that's allowing people to get away with this stuff so easily? Is it a kind of a lack of paper trail or records aren't being kept properly? What is the deal there?
No, it's not that. It's a hole in the system, and it's nobody's fault. I'm
Okay.
certainly not blaming the counties for this, and they're starting to react to it for sure. And we're trying to help them as best as we can. If you would think back 15 years ago when identification fraud was rearing its other ugly head, where people were stealing socials and taking out credit cards or doing something else equally as bad. There was no way to stop that. We just weren't prepared. It was a new thing. The credit reporting agencies have absolutely stepped up and allow you to freeze your credit. And, so that's kind of where we are today. It's a newish thing, and the industry and the government is reacting. I think they're doing a good job, and there are companies like us that are coming to the foreground to stop it. And I say companies like us, we're the only ones doing what we do to give credit to our development guys. But it's just a hole in the system that we're going to plug.
And what are some of the ways that real estate agents can kind of verify who they're talking to, who they're dealing with, that kind of thing, so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't kind of
Mm-hmm.
get even worse?
Right. So many of the people who engage in deed fraud and other folks as well who are bad actors, I'll just use that general term.
Yeah.
They are, there's also seller fraud. They are acting in the place of the seller in a lot of these cases, of the rightful seller, and they're affecting a transaction. So one of the things that we have developed, that we have licensed out of this technology out of Israel, which does 3D biometric verification. So I can give a realtor or anybody an app on their phone, and before you go meet with new client. You send them, you punch in their phone number, and it will verify them for you. It'll look at their license. It'll do biometric face scan. It will verify some data off the phone to look at the accounts of the phone and make sure that the phone data matches everything else from driver's license data. And then it stores all of that on the blockchain, in fact. And so you will know who you're dealing with before you get there. And I think that's super important. So unfortunately, these folks who are taking advantage, they're attacking real estate from all sides. Why? Because that's where the money is, right? There's a lot of money in real estate. And so you need to be on your toes these days. You need to know who you're talking to. And we're trying to help the counties know who they're talking to when somebody comes in to record a document.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad we even need these solutions, really, right? But
Yeah.
such is the world.
So I will
So let's
say, Paolo,
yeah,
that
go ahead.
we are making this available at very low cost. Literally the security part of it is $1 or $2.
Oh
The
wow.
equity protect is, as I said, $20 a month. So we want to take price out of the conversation and help people. Yes, we're in business to make money, sure, but we're not. We're charging very reasonably for this out of the box technologies.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And I'm sure it could be applied to other industries too, right? Where safety and identification
Absolutely.
a big
Yep.
concern. As you mentioned, that's kind of the negative side of real estate right now. Let's talk about the positive stuff. What do you see going on that needs attention? Where do you see the industry going? Obviously, a lot of talk right now with the buyer agency and all that kind of stuff.
Oh boy.
What's your take
Yeah.
on it?
Well, I have to say I do agree with the issues needing to be addressed. No question. What the right answer is, that's not for me to say. NAR is working with the state governments on that, I know, and they're talking about, well, the proposal is to not include buyer commission, um, stated buyer commission on the MLS or in conversations before a property is shown. That's probably the right way to go, but yet, buyers agents serve a very important role, and they should
Yeah,
be. I think they should be compensated fairly. It's not really for me to say what that is. I know it'll be worked out, so I'm not going to swim too far into the deep end on that
yeah,
one.
right.
But there are lots of positive things going on to help the agents be more effective. So one of the things, Paolo, that I use every day is AI, and AI can just help you to be better. Now, I'm not saying that AI takes the place of anybody or anything. AI is like the best assistant you've ever had, probably.
Yeah,
And so, for instance, I write a newsletter. And if I get up one morning and it's time for me to write the newsletter for the week, I may not have a really clear idea about what I want to write about. And I go to ChatGPT and I start asking it questions like, what's going on in the marketplace right now that I could write about? What's the very latest? I know what's going on with interest rates; they're up. It's not,
yeah,
but how is it affecting real estate sales, and how is it
Yeah.
affecting business, and what are people saying about where it's going. So Chat GPT for me is a research assistant, and it gives me ideas from which I write. Sometimes I'll load paragraphs back into Chat GPT and ask it if it can write it better. So it might clean up a few things. But I think that AI is phenomenal, that we should embrace it, and all the stuff about it getting the launch codes is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
understand why people say we have what, 6 Terminator movies that are out there over the years that have scared everybody. That's not, I don't believe that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way for that to happen any more than a foreign country can get a hold of our launch codes, and Lord knows they've been trying forever. So I would say embrace AI. There is a place to go learn about AI. I have no affiliation with it. In fact, I'm a student of the Marketing AI Institute,
Okay.
I think it's called the AI Marketing Institute. I may have that backwards, but they're a tremendous source of information about not only what AI is out there and what the different AIs do, but how to use them. And I think getting trained, education is the key.
Yeah. And it's interesting. My kind of take on AI and how it's being implemented in real estate right now with various software providers and whatnot is that they're almost missing the point and trying to use AI to replace the most important thing that an agent has, which is their relationships. And I think a lot of companies are missing the mark there, and instead of using it as, like you said, more of an assistant, they're trying to take take some of the relationship building away from the agent, and I don't see that working out in the long run. Where do you kind of see AI going with real estate? Was maybe with some of the things that are available now, or things you kind of see happening in the future?
Well, I'll say that my favorite platform, which doesn't yet have really AI baked into it, but it's coming. You know, it's coming for all these major platforms. My favorite platform for doing business is LinkedIn. I think, and that's probably an obvious statement,
Yeah,
but LinkedIn today is incredible. They have done a great job of adding additional features, all designed to connect business people. But there are some clear rules about how to use LinkedIn and how not to use LinkedIn. First of all, LinkedIn is not Facebook, and it's certainly not Instagram. So it's not the place to post pictures of your vacation or anything that is, let's just say, non-business. It
yeah,
is the place to talk business with other folks, especially within your industry. But the mistake I see people making from all industries, from all walks of business, is they're trying to sell. As Gary Vaynerchuk says, don't sell on the first move. I like that
yeah,
statement.
yeah,
You've got to earn the right to have that sales conversation, and ideally have them contact you. So how do you do that? You have to deliver, and this is another Vaynerchukism, but deliver value. So when I'm writing my newsletter, when I'm putting posts out on LinkedIn, doing all the communications, I almost never ask somebody, hey, can I show you what I do? I let them come to me. And when they do, man, it's a great conversation. It's stress free.
yeah,
So by establishing myself as best as I can as an expert in the things in the fields that I work in, and, technology and real estate being at the top of the list, by helping people to be better. If they want to talk to me about AI, if they want to get some inside ideas about how to use LinkedIn better, if that establishes me and then they want to do business with me, then that's the way to go. And so that's how I use it. In fact, I tell people all the time, did you know that you can automate getting the connections on LinkedIn? So I grew my LinkedIn account, my first LinkedIn account from, I think, 500 or 600 connections to almost 10,000. And
oh
I
wow.
didn't lift a finger. I had a bot doing the work for me. It's not a LinkedIn bot; it's a third-party bot, and there are a couple of them. And so, have your audience check out just do a search on automating getting connections on LinkedIn, and then staying connected. Right? It's one thing to get connected, then you got to stay connected, and you do that with valuable information.
So when you're using the bot to connect with people, are you doing the kind of the follow up? So once the connection's made, you jump in and start building the relationship from there.
Both.
Okay.
The answer to that is both. I let the bot continue to do it, so I can put messages into the bot that the bot will send at intervals. And the
Okay.
messages are usually, thanks for connecting. There's a lot going on in the industry right now. You're going to be you're going to be seeing occasional posts from me and newsletters about how to navigate the real estate industry in 2024. And I think people appreciate that. So I get a pretty good response from them. I usually get a thumbs up or something like that. They
Yeah.
appreciate it, and my newsletter is doing well. If you're not the kind that writes a newsletter, then do short form, do post articles, post thoughts. Don't post though. Hey, congratulations to Tom and Mary on their new home. We just closed. That's
Right.
kind of passe in my opinion. And the title agents do that as well. And I wish they would honestly, for their sake, stop. But again, delivering the value of a message to homeowners. So let me ask a rhetorical question that to your audience. What does an executive making $150,000 a year to a million a year, let's just say, just put them in that demographic, what do they need to know when they have to sell their house and find another one? Maybe they got relocated, maybe they took another job, maybe they're retiring, maybe they want they're making money and they want a bigger house. So, what do these people need to know? And if you can post that kind of stuff on LinkedIn to set yourself up as an expert, all the while growing your connections, man, it's going to put you in a different place. And I think people will appreciate it and they'll use your services.
Yeah. So talking about Vaynerchuk, whose new book is out, a little plug for him. It's very good. I'm listening to it right now. I lived right around the corner from Wine Library, and I was watching his YouTube channel, which is, of course, how he kind of blew up and got well known. I was watching that for years, not realizing there was actually a correlation between the show and the place. So
Mm.
that kind of speaks to the fact that he was just providing value and wasn't really trying to sell what he was talking about. And there was one day when they were giving out bags, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this is the same thing." So it felt a
Yeah.
bit stupid, but I think to your point, you provide value and you sell without selling. The selling kind of happens by itself, right?
For me, I didn't even know they had Wine Library. I saw Vaynerchuk on LinkedIn talking about, the things that he talks about today before I ever knew about Wine Library. So that's how under the radar it was.
Yeah,
And I think that's played out extremely well for him. I think people they get nervous. They put pressure on themselves that I've got to connect with Paolo today. And Paolo, I can be your real estate agent. Are you ready to sell, or you want to do it next week, next
yeah,
year, 5 years from now? I'm your guy. And I don't think that kind of pressure on yourself or the person that you're talking to is of any benefit. You're better off. Okay, another Vaynerism. You're better off doing this for the long haul, right? So
yeah,
it's not about this month. It's about and you have to have patience. There's no question. You have to have patience. But if you're going to work hard at anything in 2024, it's delivering information to people that they want and need. And you have to determine who they are, what they want, and how do they want to get it. And you have to work hard at that.
yeah. So no one likes to smell the commission breath, right? I think when people can when you kind
Exactly.
of when you can sense that someone is uh, trying to build a relationship based on a transaction versus a connection, I think it's very obvious and it's very off putting. So I definitely agree with your advice there. Going back to your newsletter, though, when you connect with people on LinkedIn, are you scraping their email and adding them to your mailing your newsletter list?
No. So I actually have two newsletters. One is the LinkedIn platform newsletter,
Okay.
and that newsletter goes out automatically to all my first connections to their email addresses, which I don't have. LinkedIn has them. You use that to log
Hmm.
in, as you know. And so LinkedIn delivers my newsletter to the inboxes of all of my connections.
Oh, cool.
There's also a subscribe feature on, so if it gets forwarded, people can subscribe even if they're not on LinkedIn yet. So it kind of it kind of grows on its own. And my newsletter, when I say newsletter, I'm not writing page after page. It's
Yeah.
usually 3 to 5 paragraphs. And again, I use ChatGPT as a great writing assistant. I use ChatGPT to help get that done. It's kind of hard to write a newsletter every week, but that certainly helps. The other newsletter I use is an AI newsletter. Now, this is really cool. There's a company called Rasa, RAS as in Sam A.io. It is a newsletter. The Rasa platform curates articles in real estate for me to approve or to deny. And so I have control over what goes out. And so I might select 20 different articles that Housing Wire's put out, NAR's, things about NAR that have been written, interest rates, mortgages, you name it, anything that's appropriate. And then the email newsletter goes out to the list I provide. Now, here's what's really cool. Over time, not that long, the reader will click on certain articles to read. And then that
Yeah.
means that some articles they won't click on. And the AI analyzes that and continues to serve up in the future articles that that person has already demonstrated that they want to read. So I can send out to 1,000 people, let's say, and each one of them will get a different version of the newsletter based on what the AI picks, based
I
on their
love that.
preferences. And I think that's really cool
Yeah,
because I'm not
that
wasting
is
anybody's time.
exactly, and that's what AI should be leveraged for, right? Is being able to individualize at scale. I love the sound of that.
100%.
Um,
It's not expensive either.
yeah,
It's very reasonable.
yeah. I just looked
And
it up.
I have nothing to do with Reza. I don't get
Yeah.
anything from this. Is a plug for them that I get nothing out of. Although if the Reza people are hearing this, Paolo, and they want to send me some money or make my account free, I won't complain.
Yeah, we could all take the affiliate marketing, that's for sure.
Sure.
I want to talk about repeat business, which
Yep.
in real estate, and something we talked about off air, but I think why it's become so important now is that when the real estate market was good in the post COVID years, it was very easy just to do a transaction and move on to the next one. You generate lead, transaction. Zillow's made that very, very not easy, but it's made it accessible to a lot of people, to the highest bidder. People then neglect their past clients, and I forget what the exact stat is, but it's something like over 70 something percent of people don't use the same agent that they used before, and that's despite the fact that 90% of them said they actually liked them. So, what can agents do to get that repeat business to stay in front of people? I mean, obviously things like the newsletter, but what kind of tactics can they employ?
Well, so you're right on track. Way back in 2004 or 2005, I saw that stat that you're referring to that NAR put out. And at that
Yeah,
time, and it hasn't really changed any, at that time, the first time I saw it, it said 90% of homeowners would do business with their real estate agent again.
yeah,
8% can remember who they were. Terrible. The hallmark of any great company or business operation can be measured in large part by how much repeat business they get. If you got to go out and reinvent the wheel every month, man, that's hard. But if you have done 100 closings, 1,000 closings, 5,000 closings over your career, why would you give that away? That's an asset. And
yeah,
so that repeat business is, I think, super important to people being successful. And it also makes it fun, right? When people call you up and say, "Hey, let's do it again," man, I
yeah,
mean, it just brightens your day. So the key is staying in touch with the clients post closing. Now, the mistake that I found out in polling real estate agents and talking to them and working with them when I first got into this business, I said, well, what do you do to stay connected to your clients post closing? Well, I send them an email that reminds them to turn clocks forward on Saturday night in the spring. And then I send them an email to remind them to turn them back. And then I send them an email that says happy birthday. And I think you go, there's no value there, right? Their unsubscribe rates were through the roof.
yeah,
Their read rates were super low, and it didn't bring any business back to them. So I designed a system called Digital Docs. And despite its name, the point of that system uh, was that it knew when homeowners were returning to the market, and we put the agent back in front of their client when that client told us that they were back in the market. Which I'll tell you how we did that. But
yeah,
before we had that trigger, I also said I got to keep the realtor, the real estate agent in front of the homeowner while we're living in the home effectively. So I designed this automated email marketing campaign that went out no more than 4 times a year with valuable information about the home. So I started treating the home like an investment, like the investment that it is and should be. Here's what your home value is this quarter. on a sophisticated AVM. Here's what your net equity calculation is, because I knew what their loan amount was for and their interest rate and the term. I told them what homes sold on their street in their neighborhood. So not zip codes away just because it was a
Right.
similar home, but in the 1 mile or half-mile radius of where they lived, if it was an urban or suburban area. So and every one of those emails had a picture of the agent and their contact information, the title agent logo, and the contact information. And our read rates were through the roof. They would be 60, 70, 80%, because we were always sending targeted, valuable information.
Yeah.
So that system isn't available today. I sold that away. I'm going to recreate it, and it will be available here hopefully sometime later this year. But we also had triggers in the system that when they access certain documents like title policies or recorded deed, recorded mortgage, that they also were indicating. I learned a long time ago, Paolo, that if they went and looked at title docs on the system and they've been in the house longer than 6 months, they were most likely back in the market. You and I are not going to sit around and watch football on a Sunday afternoon and read my title policy if I've been in the house longer than 6 months. It's just not going to
Right.
happen.
Why would they be looking at the title policy though? What's the benefit
Uh,
for them?
There, none, zero. Oh, well,
Yeah.
prior policy discount probably
Okay.
is probably the only reason. But a lot of times they don't know what they're looking at, and they're just trying to get their ducks in a row. Let me make sure my deed is there. Let me make sure my note is there. Let me make sure the other documents that I signed are there in case somebody wants them. And so yeah, I mean the homeowner doesn't know the process too well because they don't go through it very often. But we take advantage of the fact that they access documents on the system only, never to tell anybody but the realtor. They've looked at their docs. Now's the time to contact them. And so, you know what? You're really good agents. They make calls back to their past clients and they say, "Hey, Joe. Hey, Mary. How you doing? Is there anything I can do for you?" And if you're calling back blindly, a lot of times is, listen, Paolo, we're good. I'm late for Little League practice. My spouse is cooking dinner, and we got to eat before we got a million things to do. I can't talk. I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now.
Yeah.
Trade that for the wife just came downstairs, Paolo, and this happened to me. The wife came downstairs and said, "I'm pregnant with triplets. We got to move." And that's when they want your phone call. They don't want to have to try
Right.
to remember who you are, even though they have the emails from our system. They want you to be there when they need you. And that's what we do. We put realtors back in the ball game when we know the homeowner needs their help.
Yeah, and I mean, I can only imagine that's going to get even better and more sophisticated with AI, and
Sure.
the
Listen,
more
if you
that.
have nothing but a button on an email that says stuff I need to know when I'm ready to move and click here and it contacts the realtor, I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be all that sophisticated, but you're right. The more we can do to understand what the homeowner needs at the time they need it, uh, is only a benefit to everybody. And
yeah,
so it's not Snoopy. It's not invading anybody's privacy. It's merely reconnecting at the time that it's appropriate.
yeah, exactly. You're showing up when you need to, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
anyway, Rob, that was we covered so much ground in that, and I
We did.
think people. This is one of those episodes where people I recommend go back and listen again because you're going to be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that LinkedIn thing. I forgot
Yep.
about those emails I should send. Um,
Yep.
really appreciate you joining us. Where can people find more information from you? I'll obviously put it in the show notes too.
Yep. So on LinkedIn, I'm Robert Reich, Reich. You can certainly look me up there, and I represent Boxster Analytics, Voxtur. My email address is robert.reich@boxster.com. You're more than welcome to send me an email, and you might mention that you heard me on Paolo's broadcast. And I'd be happy to. Now, I don't charge for helping people with LinkedIn. That's not what I'm in business to do. I'm a technology guy, yes, but I'm not a consultant. So I'd be happy to answer questions about how to automate LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yes, we have these products. We have this security product for the phone that you can verify anybody in seconds. Got to get the permission, but you can verify them
Yeah.
in seconds. And we have the credit lockdown product called Equity Protect. So if you're interested in having a discussion about those, great, let me know.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, man.
Paulo, great broadcast. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I
Of
appreciate it.
course.